Have you ever met someone who changed the direction of your life without even realizing it? Maybe it was a teacher, a friend, a mentor, an author, or even a complete stranger whose story arrived at exactly the right moment. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I recently had the privilege of becoming one of 16 women featured in the book called The Embers We Carry. It's the third edition of Carrie Scollin's Found Her series. When I signed my chapter for someone recently, I wrote a simple inscription: Women inspire women. The more I thought about those three words, the more I realized just how true they are. My chapter, The Ride of My Life, tells the story of moving to the Netherlands when I was 7 months pregnant. At the time, it felt equal parts exciting and terrifying. I was leaving behind everything familiar and stepping into a future I couldn't yet imagine. What I didn't know then was that one decision would lead me toward opportunities I never dreamed possible, including becoming a teacher. Ironically, teaching had been my childhood dream. Every summer, my best friend and I would play school in her basement. I was always Miss Stevens, standing proudly at the front of an imaginary classroom, teaching equally imaginary students. Who would have thought that the little girl pretending to teach would one day become a real teacher in a country she had never even imagined visiting? Looking back now, I can see that I didn't make that journey alone. Along the way, inspiring women appeared at exactly the right moments. Some stayed for years, some stayed only briefly, but each one offered something that I needed: guidance, encouragement, wisdom, friendship, or simply belief in me when I wasn't yet sure of myself. And that's what today's episode is all about: the women who inspire us, the stories that shape us, and the ways we can inspire others simply by sharing our own journeys. One of the things I love most about Carrie Scollin's Found Her series is the belief behind it. The idea is simple. If women share their stories, someone somewhere might recognize a piece of themselves within. Maybe a reader feels understood. Maybe they feel less alone. Maybe they discover courage they didn't know they had. And maybe they decide to take their own next step. I get goosebumps just thinking about it because stories have power. And not because they provide all the answers, but because they remind us what's possible. When we hear how someone navigated fear or uncertainty, disappointment, or change, we begin to believe that perhaps we can do the same. The women featured in The Embers We Carry are remarkable. Each author courageously shares her challenges, struggles, lessons, and triumphs. And while every story is unique, what connects them all is the hope that someone reading these pages will find a message they need at exactly the right moment. And perhaps that's the true gift of storytelling. Not telling people what to do, but showing them what is possible. Over the years, many women have inspired me. Oprah Winfrey is certainly one of them. What made Oprah so remarkable wasn't simply her success, it was her willingness to be vulnerable. She shared her struggles, her mistakes, her lessons, and she created a platform where others could do the same. Every time someone sat across from Oprah and courageously shared their story, they gave others permission to do the same. I think that's one of the greatest gifts we can offer each other: permission. Permission to try, permission to fail, permission to change, and permission to begin again. More recently, I've been inspired by She Tells Story. She Tell is a psychic medium, astrologer, podcaster, coach, and someone who genuinely believes in lifting other women up. One of her messages that resonates deeply with me is that there is room for all of us at the table. Imagine that. What if instead of competing, we collaborated? What if instead of comparing, we encouraged? What if success wasn't a limited resource? I love that philosophy because I believe we rise higher when we lift one another. And how much better our world would be if we all helped one another and celebrated our unique gifts. Sometimes the women who inspire us aren't people we know personally. Sometimes they are authors who their words arrive exactly when we need them. And one such woman for me was Angela Duckworth. While studying to become a teacher in the Netherlands and raising a family, I discovered her book, Grit: The Power and Passion and Perseverance. I loved it immediately. Not just because of the idea inside it. I love the word grit. Such a small word, but it was powerful, the concept behind it. Angela describes grit through 4 pillars: interest, practice, purpose, and hope. What struck me most was the reminder that enthusiasm alone isn't enough. Real growth requires practice. It requires showing up repeatedly, even when motivation fades, even when progress feels slow, even when we'd rather be doing something else. That lesson was powerful for me because learning something isn't enough. Reading a book isn't enough. Understanding an idea isn't enough. We have to put it into practice. As teachers often say, use it or lose it. The same applies to almost everything worthwhile in life. The effort we invest in ourselves is never wasted, and you are worth that investment. Another author who has inspired me is Glennon Doyle. Her simple message, we can do difficult things. I love that because some things in life come naturally and some things are just plain hard. I think about this every week when I head to my exercise class. Now, if that class were at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'd be delighted. But it's at 3 in the afternoon. And for a morning person, 3 p.m. feels like climbing Mount Everest. Every week I think about it. Every week I try to talk myself out of it. And every week I feel amazing afterward. Perhaps you've experienced something similar. The hard thing before, the satisfaction reward after. It's a reminder that growth rarely happens in our comfort zones. One of my favorite examples of this comes from my years in the Netherlands. A friend and I decided we were going to become runners. The problem? The weather. If it wasn't raining, it was drizzling. If it wasn't drizzling, it was misty. And if it wasn't misty, it was thinking about raining. We quickly realized something important. If we waited for perfect conditions, we'd never run. So my friend started wearing a baseball cap, not for the sun, for the rain. I wasn't really a baseball cap kind of girl, but I bought one too. And guess what? We went out and ran. Were we glamorous? Absolutely not. Were we proud of ourselves? Absolutely. That experience taught me a lesson I still carry today. A quote from Barbara Corcoran, "You don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going." How often do we wait for the perfect conditions, the perfect timing, the perfect plan, the perfect version of ourselves? Meanwhile, life is waiting for us to simply begin. These days, I continue to find inspiration in remarkable women and in unexpected conversations. One of the most meaningful experiences in my life right now is volunteering with students and educators in Ukraine through organizations such as Classrooms Without Walls and Engine. Every week, I have the privilege of connecting with people who demonstrate incredible resilience, optimism, determination, despite circumstances that many of us can scarcely imagine. One particular connection has become very special to me. Through Engine, I meet weekly with a Ukrainian educator, and from our very first session, we seemed to click. What began as an opportunity to support language learning has evolved into rich conversations about education, culture, life, and personal growth. In a recent session, we found ourselves exploring the topic of inspiration. We talked about what motivates us, what keeps us moving forward when life feels overwhelming, and how we can reignite our energy when we're feeling stuck. During that conversation, the idea of a dopamine menu came up, and together we learned more about it and discussed how it might apply to our own lives. I had never heard of that term before, and the concept is based on creating a personalized menu of healthy activities that provide small boosts of motivation, enjoyment, and well being. Rather than waiting for inspiration to magically appear, the idea is that we can intentionally choose activities that help us feel more energized and engaged. Much like a restaurant menu, there are starters, main courses, and desserts. The starters are quick and easy activities that give you a little lift. The main courses take more time and energy, but often provide deeper satisfaction. And the desserts are those simple pleasures that help you recharge without getting lost in habits that don't truly serve you. As part of our lesson, I created my own dopamine menu. My starters included coffee, yoga, breath work, and a short walk. My main courses were things like hiking, kayaking, spending time outdoors, and meeting up with friends. And for dessert, curling up with a good book, enjoying a favorite movie, or soaking in a warm bath. What I loved most about this exercise was the reminder that inspiration doesn't always have to come from somewhere outside of ourselves. Sometimes we already have the tools. We simply need to remember what fills our cup and intentionally make space for those things in our lives. So today, I'd like to leave you with a few questions. Who inspires you? What woman, story, book, conversation, or experience has helped shape you to who you are becoming? What lessons have stayed with you? And perhaps just as importantly, who might be inspired by your story? Because you don't need a book deal, you don't need a podcast, you don't need a stage. Sometimes all it takes is sharing your truth with one person who needs to hear it. Women inspire women. I've seen it throughout my life, through teachers and friends, authors, mentors, colleagues, and through remarkable women around the world who continue to shine their light even in challenging circumstances. My hope is that today's episode has inspired you in some small way. Perhaps a story resonated. Perhaps a quote sparked something. Perhaps you're already thinking about someone you'd like to thank for inspiring you. Or maybe considering taking that first step towards something you've been putting off. Whatever it may be, I hope you remember this. You never know whose life you might touch simply by sharing your story. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a woman who has inspired you or someone who could use a little encouragement right now. And if you're heading out for a walk, perhaps take me along with you. I know just the perfect podcast to listen to. It's called Shine a Light On with Joanna Vervaat. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep your light shining brightly, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember that your story matters more than you know. Take care, everyone.